Orange man bad.
Orange man bad.
Orange man.
Orange man.
Orange man.
Orange man bad. Diversity is necessary. Gender is installed. White people must be abolished. Real communism hasn't been tried yet. He will not divide us. This game is dehumanizing.
Why?
But so my point is, this person out in the world, you're trying to talk to them, not George. You could say, I was a victim myself, and I don't believe E. Jean Carroll. It's not complicated. I don't believe her. If I thought in my mind, if I believed that Donald Trump had done something egregious, I wouldn't be supporting Donald Trump. And don't even worry about George. So then now you make this all personal. Now you start talking about George. Donald Trump needs to give talking points out. I don't know how they roll. The left or the authoritarian side, they got their talking points set. Oh my goodness. If anybody on the authoritarian side went on TV and did that bad, you'd never see them again. They'd be done. They wouldn't even be in Congress anymore. They'd be done.
Liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16. And any rape victim will tell you, I've lived for 30 years with an incredible amount of shame over being raped. I didn't come forward because of that judgment and shame that I felt. And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential rape victim. I'm not gonna do that.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about Donald
Trump. No, you
Trump.
are shaming me.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury. It's been affirmed by a judge.
It was not a criminal court case, number one. Number two, I live with shame. And you're asking me a question about my political choices, trying to shame me as a rape victim. And I find it disgusting. And quite frankly, E. Jean Carroll's comments when she did get the judgment, joking about what she was going to buy, it makes it harder for women to come forward when they make a mockery out of rape, when they joke about it.
Doesn't it make it harder for women to come forward when they?
It makes it harder when other women joke about it, and she's joked about it. I find it offensive, and I also find it offensive that you're trying to shame me with this question.
I'm not trying to shame you
at
all. In fact,
I have dealt with this for 30 years. You know how hard it was to tell my story 5 years ago when they were doing a fetal heartbeat bill and there were no exceptions for rape, incest, or rape or incest in there. I had to tell my story because no other woman was coming forward. No rape victims were represented. And you're trying to shame me this morning.
I'm just asking.
And I find it offensive. And this is why women won't come forward.
Women won't come forward because they're defamed by those who perpetrate rape. Donald Trump.
They are judged and they're shamed. And you're trying to shame me this morning. I think it's disgusting.
I'm not shaming you at all.
I told my story. It took me 25 years to tell my story. I was judged for it. I still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. This was
a civil court.
It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money. And I find that offensive.
I'm asking you about
as a rape victim who's been shamed for years now because of her rape, you're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think it's offensive. As a woman, I find it offensive. For my political choices, I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a rape victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying I'm shaming you.
You are. The question, it is.
How is the question asking you about a presidential candidate who's
You're asking a rape victim.
And there's no question about that. And you've courageously talked about that.
Because I've been raped. I think that's disgusting.
No, I'm questioning your political choices because you're supporting
shaming me. You're
someone who's been found liable for rape. Actually, I'm not trying to.
You are. That's exactly.
You're not answering the question.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, you're welcome to say that, but you also have to answer the question. Why are you supporting someone who's been found liable for rape?
I just answered your question.
What is the answer?
He was not found guilty in a criminal court of law. It was sexual abuse. It wasn't actually rape, by the way. And E. Jean Carroll joked about all the money she's going to get and made a mockery out of this case. And I think that's offensive. There's a reason why women don't come forward. And when you have someone who says that they're raped and they make a mockery out of this civil court judgment, it's offensive to other women. It makes it harder for other women to come forward when another woman has made a mockery of it.
You said women don't come forward because they are afraid. They are afraid
They're
because
judged
they're defamed
and shamed,
by those
like you're trying to shame me this morning.
They are afraid to come forward, as you said, because they are defamed by those who commit the rape. That's what Donald
And
Trump
they're
has been found
judged.
guilty of doing.
He defended himself over that and denies that it ever happened, but he was not found guilty in a criminal court of law. It was a
So
civil
is that the
judgment over
distinction you're
sexual
making?
abuse.
A civil judgment is okay, but a criminal judgment
This
is
is
not?
different, and they didn't even input all of the evidence into the civil case either, because some of the information she provided wasn't even accurate or correct. But to sit here and ask me as a rape victim to try to shame me for my political choices is wrong, and I think it's offensive.
You can repeat that again and again
and
again.
I'm going
and
to
again,
because
and
I
I've done
find it
nothing to shame
deeply
you.
offensive.
You don't find it offensive that Donald Trump has been found liable for rape?
I find it offensive as a rape victim that you're trying to shame me for my political choices. And I've said again repeatedly, E. Jean Carroll has made a mockery out of rape by joking about it. I don't find that funny.
Well,
rape is not funny.
You've made it
Rape
perfectly
is
clear.
serious.
You've made it perfectly clear. You're
Rape
comfortable.
is serious.
It is
it's
serious.
not funny, and it shouldn't be made a mockery of. But
It
if you
is-
want to defend a woman who made a mockery out of rape, then you go ahead and do that. I'm not going to do that.
Well, actually, what you're doing is defending a man who's been found liable for rape. I don't understand how you can do that.
Not in a criminal court of law. This was a civil judgment over sexual abuse, not rape, by the way, and she made a mockery out of it.
Can we
So
pull up
which
the
one are you
Washington
going
Post
to?
headline right there? In fact, it has been shown to be rape. The judge affirmed that it was in fact rape. Donald Trump was found to have committed rape. That's just a fact.
That is a civil judgment, not a criminal court. They're two very different things, and you know better.
Well, I just showed you the facts.
You
right
know
there.
better.
You show that you're very comfortable with what Donald
And
Trump
what
has
you've
done.
done is offensive to women who've been raped. What you've done this morning is offensive.
We'll let the viewers decide about that. Let's talk about January 6th. You had just put.
I've been having this concern about women in politics, and it's, I'm not afraid to go after men too. I think we as men have to step up. That's not when I'm going to go at women here, but it's not just women. It's the blacks. It's the whites. I've talked about the whites not standing up. The kindness of, when I say the kindness of this country, very often that includes white people bending over backward for this nonsense that's going on. The blacks, males, everyone has a role in this fall of our country. There ain't no saviors. We are the saviors of our own country. Women, this isn't good enough. I don't need to see you on these interviews. Period. You're not ready. She is ill prepared. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's not passionate about this. Why is she on the interview? Why is she on TV? Let's take a look at the recent pattern that I've seen. This is just an anecdotal. If people disagree, they disagree.
If you eradicate transgenderism, which I believe you suggested in a post today.
No, I never suggested that.
Oh, okay. You
eradicate
reposted a post that was advocating for that. What would happen to the people that have already medically, socially, completely transitioned and are leading happy lives? What would happen to them? I mean, what's your plan for that? If transgenderism doesn't exist, which it seems like that's what you believe, what happens to all the people living happy lives as trans people?
Well, first of all, the whole trans it's based on a lie. You can't change your gender.
Okay, but
So they could go live their life. I mean, I can't tell someone what to do in their house.
sounds like you do want to tell people what to do in their house.
I never said that.
So you're totally okay with people being trans, just not as long as they're in public.
No, I never said that. They could.
This is somebody who doesn't know what she's talking about, doesn't know, she's never worked through these philosophies, bantering back and forth with people that might disagree, agree, or even, sparring. You can't go into the ring if you don't spar. The next thing was Moms for Liberty. And so there was a clip from 60 Minutes where Scott Pelley asked the Moms for Liberty founders, they had a tweet that said, if they don't like being called groomers, they should stop trying to groom our kids. And it was a very simple question. Yes, well, what does that mean? And they had no idea. They're like, they don't know. They start fumbling around, looking at papers. They said they don't run their Twitter account. Who cares who runs your Twitter account? You can't comment on that. And so 60 Minutes set them up. And then, of course, we had recently Katie Britt versus reality. Katie Britt lives in a different reality than the rest of us, so that's why this nonsense came up.
I never could have imagined what my story would entail. To think about what the American dream can do across just one generation, in just one lifetime.
Okay, I need you to bake me some cookies. Stay the hell up out of the political realm right now. This is very serious. And what MAGA needs to do, I just call people generally in this who would agree with a lot of the populist right sentiment. You've got to hold these people accountable. Anybody going in front of a camera, that includes me. I mean, I'm at a small level, so you want to start at the top. Anybody in front of a camera, you've got to hold them accountable. Stop. You never heard me say, you never heard me say that about Candace Owens. You never heard me say that about Carrie Lake. I think Carrie Lake's maybe had one little mishap. I mean, that's nothing. She's a warrior. You never heard me say that about Kathy Barnett. So there's certain people who can go into this realm and go and have this political battle. You go on to ABC This Week, that's not a friendly territory. You're going to have all types of questions. And the question from George Stephanopoulos, there was a layup. I wish I could go on ABC and somebody could ask me that question. That was a layup question. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. He wasn't even trying to set her up. What's wrong with the question? Let's go back to the tape. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the question. He's not defending E. Jean Carroll. He's not defending Democrats. It's a legitimate question. He didn't even go activist journalist.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and 2 separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
That is completely fair. And before this, they showed testimony. See, that was really smart, though.
This is why women do not come forward. They are afraid.
Congressman, thanks for...
Before this, they had her, I believe it was in 2019. I think she was in, I forgot where she was speaking, but she was talking about basically the Me Too stuff. Basically in that realm of, well, we believe all women, right? So they set her up. It's a fair question. Was it a setup? I don't think so. I think it's a fair question. You said this in the past, and it was accurate. They didn't doctor it. And this happened to Donald Trump. Why do you support him? Layup. Absolute easy slam dunk. Anybody on the channel could have answered that. Why couldn't she answer that? She's a professional politician. This is egregious. She should be done. She should be flambéed by every single big influencer out there. She should be done on any of these spots because it's so incompetent. I don't know if it's a setup. That's how, and it doesn't matter. I don't need to get into what is she, a plant or anything like that. It's so, let's just assume let's give her the best of intentions. She's just incompetent, or was at this moment. It is so incompetent, it effectively acts as if she is a plant against Donald Trump. Whether she is or not, the level of incompetence accomplishes the same thing. If she were in the kitchen baking a pie, washing dishes, and vacuuming, it would have gone better for Donald Trump. I'm not saying that's what she has to do. I'm just saying that if she wanted to do that, that would have been a better decision than what she did right there. So he asked her the very simple question. She's a politician, and she doesn't want to have that moment where you're like, She wasn't ready for the question. So what she does is spit whatever the first thing that comes out of her mind is.
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16.
Because they started with her talking about that topic. So they threw her off. She got thrown off. The question wasn't about as tragic and as violent, and I don't know who the accused is. So let's just believe her for the purpose of this conversation, even though I'm not into that Me Too stuff, just to give her the best presentation here. That has nothing to do with the question unless you tie it in. So how do you tie that in? How do you tie that in? You easily tie that in. You could say I was a victim myself and I don't believe E. Jean Carroll. It's not complicated. I don't believe her. If I thought in my mind, if I believed that Donald Trump had done something egregious, I wouldn't be supporting Donald Trump. And don't even worry about George. So then now you make this all personal. Now you start talking about George real quickly too.
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16.
So that's if you go there, that's fine as long as you tie it into the answer of the question. The question is about Trump. Why would you support Trump? And you're on corporal media. This is a great opportunity to give corporal media something that the audience there doesn't see. You have moms, you have fathers, you've got young people, mostly probably older demographics though, but they work all week. You do your activities, you do your fun time, you do your dinner, you do your putting the kids to bed, you're running around Monday through Friday. They're not like us. They don't know what's happening. So you go on corporal media, this is your chance. You only got a little bit of chance. You can't break it down like in an hour, like a YouTuber, and you could take a 5-minute clip and make it a 3-hour live. You can't do that here. It's not long form. So you've got to give the people the simple answer. The answer here is simple. I don't believe her. So, but see, she can't do that. Why? Because she's in that Me Too bull-ish. That is toxic, Democratic, basically corporate Republican, Democrat nonsense. The Me Too. It's anti-American. It's anti-due process nonsense. Are you out of your mind? Just because somebody says something, there is no movement where I just believe them on face value. You must be crazy. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't mean I don't believe them. It's innocent until proven guilty. And that's not the answer that she should give, but I'm just explaining why she can't give the right answer because it goes against, she's a Me Tooer. They got you. They got you. See, this was the moment you had to have left the Me Too movement. And it's just very simple to say, I don't believe her. And then you can go on to not only do I not believe the woman accusing him, I don't trust, and in fact, I know that the process in New York is corrupt, it's illegitimate, and I don't trust it, I don't believe it. The judicial process in New York, it is absolutely corrupted to its core. And we're not seeing, it's not just this case. We're going to the fraud case. We're going to the business records case with the Stormy Daniels. We're going to all the different cases, not just New York. In New York, we've got quite a few. There's another one coming up. They just keep on doing it. Then you've got the federal cases as well. All of them have one thing in common. They're based off of nothing. They're a house of straws attempting to suck the money out of Donald Trump because they hate American people. So this case is a part of that. And I think she was clumsying around, and later on she talks about, well, Lake and Riley and all that. Don't bring Lake and Riley into this. I think I know what she was going to say, was trying to say I would have said, I trust the American people to analyze this and tell us what they think. You do realize Donald Trump is our nominee and millions of people support him. What those millions of people, I'm talking to you right now, is I agree with you. This is bullish. It's not trustworthy. George doesn't know what happened. I don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. But what I do know is this process is untrustworthy. So that's why I'm not using these allegations to stop me from supporting Trump. I support Trump for other reasons. It's not complicated. Even if you don't know some of the intricacies of the things I'm going to go into here, it's still not complicated. Not if you're authentic and you look from Libs of TikTok, you look at Moms for Liberty, you look at Katie Britt, and now you look at Nancy Mace. What's one of the recurring themes? Inauthenticity. They don't really believe the positions they hold publicly. That's why they have to act. That's why they can't answer questions. That's why we see this BS. She should be out of the circle. She should be disowned, period. Done. Why? To show to everybody else when they ask you to go to an interview, what they're doing is picking incompetent people. And it just happens in these 4 examples to be women, and do better. Taylor Lorenz sat down with Libs of TikTok. Why? Because she knew Libs of TikTok wasn't some debate bro, wasn't Candace Owens, somebody that was gonna light her up like Candace did Cuomo, like Candace did Destiny. That's why she sat down with her. Why wouldn't she? She's not gonna sit down with Candace Owens. Are you crazy? She would just get destroyed. I mean, Candace Owens is owning Destiny, and he does that stuff for a living. He's living as a debate bro. And she's just taking his ass out and handing it to him on a platter. They're not going to interview those type of people. I don't remember seeing Carrie Lake on ABC. She had that one hit with Brett Baer on Fox News. That's a wrap, because she ate his lunch. That's why. So they're only going to invite people like this. George knows. That's why George was so comfortable. He was like, "You're a Me Tooer. You can't answer this question." He's playing a chess game, and he knows where you are going to move, why you're going to move there. So he's so comfortable. Even when she pulls out the "I've been violated" card, he's like, "Okay, you look stupid. That has nothing to do with my question." I don't know. Let me take a look at the chat and see what's going on. God bless President Trump. What's up? Jordan Lott. What's up? Libertarian brother. It's time for some libertarian loving libertarians all come together. Love liberty, baby. Go Dave freaking Smith. Dave Smith is going off on people, man, over the open border type stuff on X. I'm not interested in that debate. It's just so, I don't know. It's a really silly libertarian discussion. Like, should you have open borders or not? I thought liberty was each territory decided what they wanted to do. I don't know. That's it for me. You decentralize control as localized as possible. And if you want to have open borders, have open borders. I don't even know what we're debating with that. But going back to Nancy Mace, you see my problem here. And then, so for the answer, I would have, if you don't know what's going on, that's my general answer. And I don't even want to go too much into the E. Jean Carroll, she named her cat this, or she said that, getting violated was good or whatever on CNN or whatever. I didn't even want to get into that. I think this is more powerful. You got to pick one thing. I say, I don't trust her. And then I would transition to, I don't trust the system in New York. New York is rabid. The juries there are in the bluest part of the country. I don't trust that. If you ever wore a MAGA hat in your life and that picture came out in public, they would convict you or find you liable in a civil suit of anything. So we are so divided as a country. And then a lot of the people who trust Donald Trump and don't believe these allegations, if they were on a jury pool, they would give their worst enemy the fairest shake possible on the scales of liberty. And that's why you get ran over. But, I'm not going to do all of that in the answer, but take a look at this. E. Jean Carroll. So here's what happened if you don't know what happened, here's what happened in New York. They passed this bill. They passed this bill called the Adult Survivors Act. It was enacted in May of 2022. It was very convenient. The bill temporarily lifted the statute of limitations for adult sexual assault survivors to file civil lawsuits for a year. The Democrats are so good at wrapping up their evilness into, well, isn't that a good thing? We temporarily. Why did they temporarily do it? If it's a good thing, then why not just lift it? I don't know. Maybe I didn't see why on that part. Maybe I'll do more research on that. But so none of these charges could have come from E. Jean Carroll because they're too long ago against Donald Trump. The only reason they were able to raise these charges against him were because the New York legislative body is corrupt. The governors corrupt signed the law, the ASA, Adult Survivors Act. That's how she was able to pursue legal action against Donald Trump. And she, E. Jean Carroll, the corruption is wide open. She was a part of getting it passed. The accuser was a part of getting this law passed.
It's really important in all of this, and it's the fact that New York passed this law.
Yeah.
The Adult Survivors Act. They passed it just a few years ago. Were it not for that law, you never would have been able to bring this case. And I just think it speaks to the importance for a lot of other survivors.
Exactly. I would never have this window, this year of having the ability to bring a lawsuit for rape. Robbie can explain it better.
Well, EJ actually helped to get that law passed. It passed last year.
And
they're just open about it. Okay, then you say, well, what does that mean? Well, then let's take a look. How did she help get a law passed? That takes a lot of political sway and power, even in New York. Now, what was she able to do? Say, I want to get at Donald Trump because allegedly he did this. But the statute of limitations is too long. And then E. Jean Carroll had also said she didn't want to do any criminal charges. So listen to this. So you put the apples together. Here's E. Jean Carroll saying in 2019, I don't want to do any criminal charges.
Would you consider bringing a rape charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
I would find it disrespectful.
This is in regards to criminal, not civil. The Adult Survivors Act opened up the statute to civil.
Would you consider bringing a rape charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
I would find it disrespectful to the women who are down on the border, who are being raped around the clock down there without any protection.
This woman is bat-ish crazy, period. Does that mean it didn't happen? I don't get into he said, she said. What I will say is she has no credibility with me, and I'm not done yet showing the corruption from New York. So she says, he asks, would you think about bringing criminal charges? She's talking about the border? What the hell is she talking about?
Would you consider bringing a rape charge against Donald Trump for this? Why not?
She interrupts him to say no, then he says, why not?
I would find it disrespectful to the women who are down on the border, who are being raped around the clock down there without any protection. They're young women.
What the hell is she talking about? These people are unserious. They're unimpressive.
Tried to come into the country.
Why does she sound like she's drunk when she talks? Is she okay? Does she have Parkinson's or something?
Tried to come into the country. As you know, they're there by the thousand. The women have very little protection there. It would just be disrespectful if and mine was 3 minutes. I'm a mature woman. I can handle it. I can keep going. My life has gone on. I'm a happy woman. But for the women down there, and for the women actually around the world, in every culture this is going on, no matter high in society or low in society, it just seems disrespectful that I would bring it just doesn't make sense to me.
She looks like the head juror from the Georgia case. She sounds like a mix between that witch lady that was the head juror of the Georgia case and Michael J. Fox. They put this on TV? And I'm supposed to take this seriously? From that long ago? Again, I don't know what happened. I don't get into that, but that's not credible. That's not credible. That's not even the start of it all. But I wouldn't even bring that up in the George interview. I'm just going on a tangent here, showing you all the back stuff. And I don't know if Nancy Mace knows any of it. I don't know where she's at with this. She just was caught off guard, maybe. So then you have that. But then let's get into so how are you able to bring those charges? Because that takes a lot of political sway. It takes a lot of money to kind of you got to bribe off the politician to get that passed. And E. Jean Carroll has a motive to not tell the truth on this, because if she gets this Adult Survivors Act passed, then she will get potentially paid. She'll get potentially book deals, TV spots, and she could get, and right now there's that judgment for $83 million about, I think it's 83.3 or something like that. Trump put it up, and then there's appeal. So he hasn't paid it, but I think he had to put whatever up on a bond. I don't know if it's 10% or something like that on a bond, and then he's going to appeal it, and it's not going to stand up on appeal. I don't think it should. I don't think it will. And so George is kind of going like, okay, he was found liable in a civil case. Well, then what if the appeal overturns it? So then now is he not? Now he's not? Is it? No, we don't know what happened. We see what the verdict is. We see what the jury ruled. But if it's overturned on appeal, are you going to switch your stance on that? Billionaire. And Trump, to my knowledge, is not allowed to say his name because of the case. The stuff that they put on him is unbelievable. Co-founder of LinkedIn and a harsh, this article is from April of last year. Harsh critic of former Trump, this is New York Times, they're fully admitting it, has helped pay for a lawsuit by E. Jean Carroll. Many of you might already know this from going through that. I never really covered this in that much depth. The New York Magazine writer who sued Mr. Trump for violation and defamation, according to newly filed court papers. Mr. Hoffman's support for Ms. Carroll's lawsuit, which was first disclosed in a letter to a judge on Thursday by Mr. Trump's lawyer, has sparked a sharp dispute in the case, which is scheduled, and that it did go through. It took about a month, got the verdict, started April 25th, got the verdict like May 9th or something like that. So let's go through and see here. Oh gosh, Charlie Savage. Wow. That dude is involved in, he is, this dude right here, Charlie Savage, man, he's involved in some of the craziest articles from the New York Times that we've seen throughout the years. She got funding from an anti-Trump billionaire tech entrepreneur known for co-founding LinkedIn, which went public, has a long history of funding Democratic candidates and causes, including those specifically designed to counter Mr. Trump's influence. It's just right there out in the open. New York Times agrees with it. Don't take my word for it. Hoffman is a part of the so-called PayPal mafia network of well-connected tech executives and investors who got their start in the payments company. That crew includes the tech mogul Peter Thiel, who is a prominent Republican donor. In New York and elsewhere, there is a well-established financial industry in which outsiders invest in lawsuits, whether involving car accidents, contract claims, or mere slip and falls. So Professor Sebak added that there was nothing wrong legally or ethically with an outsider who has no connection to a plaintiff providing funding to a lawsuit after it's filed, either to make money or just because they have a rooting interest in the outcome. So they're going into it. They're like, man, there are clear anti-Trump funded undertones to the lawsuit, to the lobbying to get behind her. Even she couldn't even bring the lawsuit if they didn't put that political weight behind it. Incredible. They're literally bending the laws. And then that, this is a side story, but that ASA was also used to go after Diddy. So I think, and who knows, I don't know what his if they're true or not, but I think they were willing to open up this portal for a year, this window, and then that's why they closed it up real quick. Because who's going to get caught in the crossfire? You open up this portal where there's no statute of limitations for civil cases on these heinous crimes. So now we look at it and you go back, this is over 30 years, I believe. We're talking about 1990s and assault in the 90s. We're talking about 30 years. She had no physical evidence. It's 30 years. You don't remember. How do you even do a legitimate case on that? And then, let's go back to the answering of the question. Because obviously I can go into way more detail on a long live than she can. So if she's authentic about her support for Donald Trump, this is not an easy question because it's really something that you probably would have thought through, especially she's a professional politician. If you haven't thought through it, I can understand and stumble through it. I can understand. She's a professional politician.
Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
Well,
So then the answer here is, and she could again bring up the heinous act that happened to her, but even without that, that's when you say, well, Eugene Carroll, she has no credibility with me. I don't believe her at all. These are accusations from 30 something years ago that many people might not know that are they were beyond the statute of limitations, but conveniently, Eugene Carroll teamed up with an anti-Trump billionaire to lobby the New York State legislative body to pass this law to open up the window for her to potentially get money from suing Trump in a deep blue area. And then you can suck Trump's out. You can suck money out of Trump's campaign. You get him caught up in court, distracted from his running for president. The whole process is corrupted, and people know that. People see through it. That's why. That's why it doesn't even come to mind to me, because none of it is trustworthy. That's the answer. I mean, George didn't even expect it to go this long. To me, what George expected, George did not expect this from her. What George was expecting was the classic, well, I don't know about Trump's case, so I didn't follow the case closely. That's the safe answer that they would bring. Oh, I don't know. I mean, now maybe that's harder to do now. I don't know, but I think that's what he expected her to say.
well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16. And any rape victim will tell you, I've lived for 30 years with an incredible amount of
So she could have said that, then she could have said, and with that in mind, I don't believe Eugene Carroll. Because later on, she brought up what she was going to do with the money, but she never tied it into anything that was coherent. She had that moment after the verdict where she got the money, where she was kind of acting a fool, and Nancy Mace brought that up later on.
Using some of Trump's money that you're about to get to help shore up women's rights. Do you know what that might be, what that might look like?
Yes, Rachel. Yes.
Tell me.
I had such great ideas for all the good I'm going to do with this money. First thing, Rachel, you and I are going to go shopping. We're going to get completely new wardrobes, new shoes, motorcycle for Crowley, new fishing rod for Robbie. Rachel, what do you want? Penthouse? It's yours,
Nothing.
Rachel. Penthouse and France? You want France? You want to go fishing in France? No? Oh, all right, okay.
That's a joke.
Yeah, that was cringe. But, I mean, she could have tied that into, I'm a survivor, and I don't believe that survivor. That would have been a better answer. So she had a lot of ways that she could have went with
Donald
it.
Trump for president. Judges and
of shame over being raped. I didn't come forward because of that judgment and shame that I felt. And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not going to sit here.
What? You're on the show to talk to the people, not George. This ain't a George debate. This isn't Nick versus Destiny debate. This is you to get your message to the normies that don't see your stuff online or don't see any type of counterpoint on these shows. And within a couple seconds, she goes to George. Why are you bringing up George? Who cares about George? He didn't bring up himself.
Shame that I felt.
Even if he did bring up himself, you bring it back to the people.
And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential.
So she thought because I did the Me Too thing, that's a corporate Republican, corporate Democrat thing, I'm going to bring up the Me Too thing, and I'm going to bring it up in the same way as a defensive shield. I don't have an answer to the question. You didn't answer the question. So now it's a defensive shield, and then now you can't go at me. That's what she thought was going to happen. And they don't play by those rules. They don't care. They don't care that you abided by the corporal rules and you fell within the corporate kind of talking points. They want to get you. So she thought for some reason that she was going to cut some slack because of, I'm doing the Me Too thing that everybody else is doing, and that's what you're supposed to do. So this is what I view. This meme here is how I view corporate media.
Breaking news. Orange man bad.
Orange man bad.
Orange man.
Orange man. Orange man bad. Deposition is necessary. Gender assisted installed. White people must be abolished. Real communism hasn't been found yet. You will not divide us. This state is dehumanizing.
Why?
So it's just a great meme that shows breaking news, and it's like CNN, like a fake CNN, and it's got NPCs on the news, orange man bad, orange man bad. And then you see the NPC watching it. And now, a lot of people don't watch corporate media, but it still sets the narrative even for normies who don't watch it. So say a normie doesn't know anything about this case, and they ask somebody, well, what's going on with the Trump case? They're going to say what they see on CNN. They're not going to say what they see on X. X doesn't have that power yet. I think tomorrow Elon Musk is launching an X video app to put on TVs, which helps. I mean, it's still not going to be there where obviously the corporate media is, but if you can get X, you could watch me on X right now. I think if you're a creator and you're not doing video on X, I think you should go over there right now, because that's what they want the number one platform to be. They want shorts, and Twitter wants to dominate long form too. And it'll be easier for them to go at long form than to break into that TikTok and Reels battle. But so the NPC sees it, then the NPC goes to the streets saying white people bad, orange man bad, gay people good. And John Oliver tells me what to do. Communism is good in theory. What do you mean don't watch? Hate speech isn't free speech. And then I'm holding a sign, hippity happity, there's no such thing as private property. False. Look, that's it right there. False rape accusations don't exist. Believe all accusers. There's the NPC sign right there, appropriate for this live. And then there's the random dude coming by. That's me. And my question is why? And they get triggered. But so my point is, this person out in the world, you're trying to talk to them, not George. So you don't need to bring up George. I don't care what George thinks. George didn't even make himself a part of the story.
It was not a criminal court case.
Endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable.
So he's bringing it back to the legit. That's why he's so strong with it. He's like, I know I have the high point here, the moral high ground. There's no moral problem with George Stephanopoulos' take.
Endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and two separate.
It's a shame that you will never feel, George, and I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential rape victim. I'm not gonna do that.
So she said shame me because of the clip before my clip here. It's really why she's saying that, because it was a clip of her basically doing the Me Too stuff.
It's not about shaming you. It's a question about
Donald Trump.
Trump.
Are shaming
You've
me.
endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury.
And these aren't in my answer, but just let's talk about it. The jury's in the bluest, most corporate Democrat place you can find in the country. You can't go to San Francisco or any other city, Chicago, Detroit. You can't go to any other city and find more powerful, more strongly bootlicking establishment, corporate, pro-authoritarian shills than the Southern District of New York is where this is. You can't find an area, maybe DC. Outside of DC, there's no area that's more allegiant, that has more allegiance to the regime than the Southern District of New York. So what does that have to do? That's not a jury of peers. And the defamation was what? The defamation was Donald Trump saying, I didn't do anything. I don't know her. That was the defamation. So she did touch on that later, but I wouldn't even have gone into that.
It's been affirmed by a judge.
It was not a criminal court case.
So now you're arguing off criminal versus civil. People don't even know. People aren't following this. They don't even know. I didn't even know. I'm 46 now. I didn't know until within the last year, since the Alex Jones stuff, basically. When the Alex Jones trial came off, what a pill to take to see how crazy the civil side is. The civil side of our judicial system is a hot mess. It's completely different than the criminal.
It's number one. Number two, I live with shame. And
Then she comes back to that.
And you're asking me a question about my political choices, trying to shame me as a rape victim. And I find it disgusting. And quite frankly, E. Jean Carroll's comments when she did get the judgment, joking about what she was going to buy.
So you see, she didn't have an answer. And then it came to her at some point between the first time to say E. Jean Carroll. That's not the take. The take is, I don't believe her. Just flat out say it. She can't say it.
It makes it harder for women to come forward when they make a mockery out of rape, when they joke about it. It's not okay.
So you see, she's missing the piece that she needs to connect, the obvious piece. So now that comment makes it look even worse. She said, well, it makes it harder for women to come out. But then now he can say, well, isn't it hard because Trump was defaming her?
To come forward when they
it makes it harder when other women joke about it, and she's joked about it. I find it offensive, and I also find it offensive that you're trying to shame me with this question.
I'm not trying to shame you.
Are.
In fact,
see, what I would have done if I were George would say, please explain to me what you mean by shaming. Because I want to have an authentic conversation. But George wanted the answer to the question. What a disaster. Just an unmitigated disaster. And then some people online were talking about with it that, George lied in there and he pulled up the article about the judge. Trump was found liable. You don't say guilty in the civil case. So he was found liable for sexual abuse, I believe it was called, not rape. And then people were saying, well, they're arguing that online. You see, that's a losing position. You're talking to the normie at home. You don't want to, and I think she got into that a little bit. You don't want to get into that because you got a normie watching it on TV, and the normie sees you arguing the difference between sexual abuse and rape. That's not a good thing. Don't even worry about it. Don't even argue that. Well, you're right. He was not found liable of rape, not at all. He was found liable of sexual abuse, but then the judge kind of said they basically intimated that it was rape in separate from the verdict. But you don't want that argument. You can see how that doesn't help anybody. Donald Trump needs to give talking points out. I don't know how they roll, the left or the authoritarian side. They got their talking points set. Oh my goodness. If anybody on the authoritarian side went on TV and did that bad, you'd never see them again. They'd be done. They wouldn't even be in Congress anymore. They'd be done. They clean house real quick. They don't waste a lot of money, actually. I'm learning that from Mel on X. She dug into a lot of the finances. It's amazing how much more efficient the pro-authoritarian side is with their money than the right, because the right is probably the fake opposition.